call to order the Gurnee Village Board regular meeting of February 6, 2023. Roll call, please.
Garner.
Here.
O'Brien. Balmas.
Present.
Thorstensen.
Here.
Woodside. Ross.
Here.
4 present, 2 absent.
Stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, everybody. First item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Garner. Roll call, please.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
4 aye.
Motion carries. Pat?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes on the January 23rd, 2023 and January 30th, 2023 meetings. Item number 2, approval of ordinance 2023-09, approving the plat of easement which grants a water main easement to the Village of Gurnee on Gurnee Park District property at 4374 Old Grand Avenue, Viking Park. Item number 3, approval of Public Works Department's request to waive the formal bidding requirement and award the Public Works main building generator hookup and manual transfer switch project to Kelsel Burnett at a cost of $23,360. Item number 4, approval of issuing a raffle license and waiving the fee and bond requirement for the Gurnee District 56 band boosters. Item number 5, approval of issuing a raffle license to the Gurnee American Legion Post 771. Item number 6, approval of payroll for period ending January 27, 2023 in the amount of $936,910.25. Item number 7, approval of bills for period ending February 6, 2023 in the amount of $408,487.74.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Ross,
Second.
second by Trustee Garner. Roll call, please.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
4 aye.
Motion carries. On to letter C, item 1, approval of a proclamation designating February 2023 as Black History Month in the Village of Gurnee. Every February, the U.S. honors the contribution and sacrifices of African Americans who have helped shape the nation. Black History Month celebrates the rich cultural heritage, triumphs, and adversities that are an indelible part of our country's history. This year's theme, Black Resistance, explores how African Americans have resisted historic and ongoing oppression in all forms. These efforts have been to advocate for a dignified, self-determined life in a just, democratic society in the United States and beyond the United States political jurisdiction. Now, therefore, I, Thomas B. Hood, Mayor of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim February 2023 as Black History Month. I call upon the citizens of the Village of Gurnee to observe this month and encourage all to learn more about the rich heritage of Black and African Americans and their extraordinary contributions to our nation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next petition and communication is approval of a proclamation designated February 5 to 11, 2023 as Future Business Leaders of America, Phi Beta Lambda, FBLA PBL Week in the Village of Gurnee. I know that we have some FBLA members present with us. Would you like to come on down and say something? Yes. Yash, you're up first.
Hello, my name is Yash Sharma, and I serve as the president of Warren Future Business Leaders of America, as well as Illinois Future Business Leaders of America. And I'm so proud to have this week designated as Future Business Leaders of America Week in order to not only improve and grow our youth in our village and in our school district, but also across the state. It's really a great time to not only be proud of being a Future Business Leader of America, but also being part of the Village of Gurnee. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Genevieve Coley, and I'm Warren's chapter parliamentarian along with the Illinois State Parliamentarian. And like Yash said, I am very proud that the Village of Gurnee has proclaimed this week as Future Business Leaders of America has truly made a great impact on not only my high school career, but that of members across the country. So I'm really happy that this week is celebrating the accomplishments of young future business leaders across the country.
Thank you. Great job. No notes. Perfect. Yes. So, this week is recognized as Future Business Leaders of America Week by the National FBLA organization, founded in 1925. FBLA is dedicated to preparing students for careers in business or business-related fields and encourages education through participation in its state and local chapters, which are based in secondary schools and universities. The national organization encourages its chapters to use this week to educate others about FBLA and recruit new membership. Warren Township High School, as their students here have indicated, has a local FBLA chapter, and the village chooses to help promote their education campaign through this proclamation. Now, therefore, I, Thomas B. Hood, Mayor of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim the week of February 5 through the 11th, 2023, as Future Business Leaders of America Week in the Village of Gurnee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Last petition communication, a proclamation, approval of proclamation designating February 11, 2023 as 211 Day in the Village of Gurnee. United Way of Lake County has been dedicated to serving children and families in our community for more than 100 years, and as a result, the critical service of 211 Lake County was launched on September 24, 2019. We come together to celebrate and raise awareness for this vital resources that is free, open, and available for everyone in Gurnee and across Lake County. As a community, we recognize the importance of having access to information and support in times of need and acknowledge the significant impact that 211 is in improving the lives of individuals and families. Now, therefore, I, Thomas B. Hood, Mayor of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim February 11, 2023 as 211 Day in the Village of Gurnee and encourage everyone to become aware of the services provided by 211. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Garner, second by Trustee Thorstensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Oh, please.
I feel bad now. My name is Quentin Snodgrass. I'm the vice president here at United Way of Lake County. We started 211 about 3.5 years ago. So we wanted to thank you all for having us, and we want to thank the board, Mayor Hood, for recognizing this great service. Like I said, this started about 3.5 years ago. 211 is a free 24-hour information and referral helpline. Since we started this program, we've made over 200,000 connections here in Lake County for people to get food assistance, rental assistance, mental health support. Hundreds and hundreds of services are available. The biggest challenge has been people haven't known where to go and how to get access to those services. So there's 24 hours a day, there's live operators, they answer people's calls, they lead them through the path of getting the services that they need. And honestly, it's been so successful that we've actually helped push other counties to instate 211 services. So now 211's going statewide. It just launched in DuPage a couple months ago. It just launched in Cook County last month. So we're now approaching 99% of households in the United States having access to this great service. So really, really wanted to thank the board and for this recognition and for helping spread awareness. It's been really, really taken up here in Gurnee. And in fact, I know that this last quarter, Gurnee had the third highest number of calls into the 211 system in Lake County, and that's just a testament to the awareness and people getting the word out and people knowing that this service is available. So thank you so very much for this recognition. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight to say that. We appreciate the services. So On to reports and the presentation by Warren Newport Public Library Executive Director Ryan Livergood. Ryan? You can't time yourself. You just talk as much as you like.
I may or may not use notes. We'll see. Good evening. I'm Ryan Livergood. I'm the Executive Director of the Warren Newport Public Library. I'd like to thank Mayor Hood, the Village Board, the whole Village team inviting me here tonight. My understanding this is going to be a series of presentations by intergovernmental partners. I will say, as the first one to go, we really have a strong relationship in this village, all of us working together, whether it's the village, the library, the parks, the township, the schools. It's very unique. I've said this many times. One of the things I worried about when I moved here 8 years ago from Massachusetts. I'm an Illinois native, but I was in Massachusetts before. I was part of a municipality where I was part of the municipal team running the library. And I worried when I came here, what's it gonna be like to work with the village or the park district or the other intergovernmental partners, because we don't naturally have to work with each other, but we are committed to working with one another and optimizing our resources. So it's really something special for those residents that don't know how well we work together, because we really do a good job of communicating with one another and optimizing our resources. So a little bit about the library district. Oh, I forgot my clicker, didn't I? Thanks. Let me grab it. Sorry. So we've been around for 50 years. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. We're not the Gurnee Library. We are the Warren Newport Public Library. And what that means is we serve both Warren Township and Newport Township. So that involves serving Gurnee, Park City, Wadsworth, Grantwood Park, Wildwood, unincorporated parts of Grays Lake, Waukegan, Libertyville. So it's 55 square miles. It's a pretty big district that we serve. When I think about what does the library mean to the community, what value does it add, I used to say that anyone that walks through our doors is empowered to change their lives for the better in both big ways and small. And that's still true, but the more I got to thinking about it, well, the library, we go out in the community with the bookmobile. We serve people online with their digital resources. So we're really everywhere. So it's more than just coming into our doors, but really the library is the organization that provides opportunity to everybody. Kind of like the village is the village of opportunity. That's what the public library is as well. So to add some social proof, of course I'm gonna say the library is great because I'm the library director, right? If I didn't say it, I wouldn't be doing my job. So that's what businesses do, right? If you want social proof, is the new restaurant in Gurnee good? Well, let's go to Yelp and check it out. But this is actually a patron last week in the library, last Wednesday night. They were in the library and they said, libraries are so cool, I love the library. And this was on a Wednesday evening, and the patron was there for Stitch and Share. And I was talking to this patron, and I mentioned a library resource to them called Creative Bug, where they could not only watch videos on how to do stitching and crafting, but they could download some patterns as well. They didn't know about that. They were thrilled. Then I told them about the craft swap that's coming up in May, where if they have some supplies they want to bring in and swap for craft supplies they don't have, they can do that as well. So they were thrilled about that too. And they were there for a program where they got to socialize with people of all ages. I used to think of Stitch and Share, I'll be honest, I kind of stereotyped the group, but it's this intergenerational event. It's a teenage daughter with her mom, and it's a bunch of people together of all ages getting together and socializing in the community. So that one event right there, we're talking about the library's collections, our programs and services, and the space we provide, that goes to show you the magic, the power, the opportunity of the public library. So I'm gonna touch on these 3 points because what I'm gonna do tonight is kind of summarize what we accomplished in the past year, what we're looking forward to in 2023 and beyond, and what challenges lie ahead. So first of all, collections. You might think of collections as books or DVDs, but really it's a lot more than that. But we certainly are all that, and there are collections like book bundles you may not know about where you can come in and check out a book bundle on a certain topic, whether it's for kids or adults. If you want to binge some DVDs over the weekend, you don't have to have all the streaming services. You can come to the library and check out DVDs. We have those as well. We're going to have Roku soon, so if you don't want to pay that subscription to Apple TV to watch Ted Lasso because you've heard so much about it, you can come into the library and check out a Roku very soon, so hopefully you'll take advantage of that. Also, we bridge the digital divide in the library. You probably know we have computers in the library, but we also have hotspots that we check out to the community. But it's more than just the physical things, it's the digital things as well, and that's a growing part of our collection. We circulated about 250,000 books last fiscal year. However, our digital collection, we circulate about 100,000 items, and that could be ebooks, that could be e-audio books. We do some streaming videos. There's something like Press Reader, that's digital magazines. The newspaper, if you hear about an article that was in the Chicago Tribune and you don't want to subscribe to the paper, I don't want to put the publishers out of business, you should subscribe to the paper and support local media, but you can go on to one of our databases and you can get that full access to the article of the newspaper. You don't have to pay for a subscription online. In terms of collections, we had a good year. Our numbers are trending back up. I think we're probably about 75% of what we were pre-COVID. So we're amping back up. When COVID happened, our digital collection circulation went up, as you might have imagined, and now our physical collection is starting to go up slowly but surely as well. In terms of challenges, since more people went digital, it's expensive. It costs us a lot more to get that copy of the new bestseller in digital form versus the paper form, and there are restrictions on that. So that's one of our biggest challenges. It costs a lot of money to provide those services. Programs and services. We have programs and services for all ages, from story times, which are so important because they teach the kids early literacy skills they need to be successful when they enter kindergarten, all the way up to programs for seniors. For example, at the Warren Township, we collaborate with them to offer a book discussion group. One of the successes we had last year in 2022 is we hired a community engagement specialist because we realized there were parts of the community that we were not reaching. For example, we serve a lot of Spanish speakers in our community. Not only is there a growing Spanish speaking population in Gurnee, but there are places we serve like Park City where it's predominantly Spanish speaking. And one of the things we've been able to do is start to bridge that gap between those people that live in our district that we haven't been able to connect with, and we're starting to do more and more for them. We had our first Hispanic Heritage Month in 2022, which we hope to be an annual event. Later this month, we're having our first celebration of Black History Month, so we're excited about that as well. Other services that we offer. I mentioned mobile services, and I know there's been some things on social media about the bookmobile is going away, save the bookmobile. I want to be clear, the bookmobile is not going away. The bookmobile still has probably 3 or 4 years of service left. We certainly will have to have a decision on our hands in terms of what the next mobile service vehicle might look like. Will it be as big as our current bookmobile? I'm not sure, but that's a discussion that we'll discuss. So we have temporarily discontinued neighborhood services. We are going to relaunch later in the year. We've had some staffing challenges. One of the challenges we've had, probably not like everybody else's, staffing. I lost 2 full-time staff in the mobile services department, which we just replaced. Last year, I replaced 4 members of my management team, which is exciting, but also it's a lot of work. And we just continue to have openings. We don't have the number of applicants we'd like to fill out of these positions. So a lot of times when you see service disruptions with WNPL, like any place else, it has to do with staffing, and we're working very hard to address that. Additional programs and services, tech time. There are a lot of people that have issues with with using technology these days. Some of us are digital natives, where we grew up in a world where we were always on the internet, always had technology. That's not me. I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm kind of like that bridge between digital natives and digital immigrants. And tech time is right for those digital immigrants, those that are not comfortable with technology and need some help learning the technology skills they need. So we offer classes like that. Also, online classes. If you're not familiar with LinkedIn Learning or Gale courses, I would like you to become familiar with that. If you have a library card, you can access these services, and they're a little bit different. LinkedIn Learning will provide kind of self-guided learning at your pace, where Gale courses is more like a college course. There's actually a professor that you can walk through this curriculum, and these are all open to you with a library card. And then tutor.com, if you're a parent like me that's trying to teach Common Core math to your students and having problems with it, there's something called tutor.com where you can actually get online and get connected with the tutor online. And space. That's the next thing I wanted to touch on. Because space is so important for so many different reasons, and we offer a lot of different spaces in the library for different reasons. Whether it's our quiet reading room, which we're getting ready to renovate here early this year, which is a fortress of solitude. It's very quiet. If you need a quiet place in the community to study or do some work, you can come in the quiet reading room, but please be quiet because they'll tell you if you're not being quiet. They'll shush you. We don't have to have staff in there doing that. From a space like the Flex, which used to be just a dedicated computer lab that we decided to turn into this flexible space, which later this year we hope to open to the public so the public can book it for their meetings, events, that type of thing. And also study rooms as well, which will be starting to update those. We had an annual appeal last year raising money to update our study rooms. And the reason that space is so important has to do with the answer to this question. There was it was in 2010, so it's a little bit of a dated study, but this study was peer-reviewed. They did a meta-analysis over 153 studies. And the question was, what factors will prevent you from dying? What are the top factors to prevent you from dying? So basically, it's a longevity question. And you might think, okay, maybe it's to stop smoking or to stop drinking or to not be overweight or a factor like that. Well, actually, you know what the top 2 factors are for longevity? According to this study, this is a meta-analysis of over 150 studies, right? Number 1, it's personal connections, those close personal connections in your life. So think a spouse, think one of your children. Think about that friend that if you had to go to the airport right now, you could call them up and they give you a ride to the airport. So that's tied with social integration, being social with one another. And that's what happens at the public library. It's also what happens at schools and churches and other important gathering points in the community, but it happens at the library. And I think that's something that as we, I guess we're endemic phase of COVID, I think about a lot. And I think something that we need to really prioritize because there's a lot of needs for space in the community, and we really need to facilitate these events for the community to come together and socialize because it's so important because COVID only made that worse. People that were not getting a lot of social interaction, they're getting less of it. So it's our birthday. WMBL has been around for 50 years, January 10th, 1973. There are a lot of people that made this happen, including the Gurnee Women's Club. This is one of their projects to get library service in our community. And so we are going to have a party on April 15th on Saturday to celebrate the birthday. We didn't want to call this an anniversary because we want this to be more festive and inclusive and open to everyone in the community, because I think when you say anniversary, people may think, oh, I'm only a part of this if I've been around since the library started. A birthday party, everyone's invited to a birthday party, right? So come to our birthday party. We're going to do events throughout the year as well. Something I'm excited about in October we're going to do is something called Chairful Where You Sit, where we're going to ask people to take a wooden chair and decorate it. And we're going to show them off the library, try to auction some off to raise a little money for the library. So hopefully you'll check that out. We're about to embark on our strategic planning process later this month. You will see some information. The 3 pillars we want to focus on with our strategic planning process, community. Of course, how can we do a better job of serving our community? We've realized that the needs have evolved in our community since we did our last strategic planning process. We started our strategic planning process in 2019, 2020, and then COVID hit. And we developed a short-range strategic plan since then, but now it's time for more of a 3-year plan. So what are the needs that the community has of us now in 2023 that were different back in 2019? To focus on staff, we want to make sure we keep our staff happy. What's happened a lot in any field while you're working with the public, whether it's if you're on work for the Gurnee Police Department, or if you work for Woodland Schools, or if you work for the Warren Newport Public Library and work with the public, it's really challenging, and staff are stressed out. And so how can we make sure we're doing the best we can and look out for staff? How can we retain staff? Because it's hard enough to hire staff. We don't want to lose anyone we have on our staff, right? So we're going to focus on staff with the strategic planning process. And then we're going to focus on our processes, because we realized during COVID that there were some things that we were really inefficient with the way we did them. So we're going to fine-tune our processes a lot. We're going to need staff input for this, which we've already done a staff survey. We're talking to staff right now. Community input, you'll see a community survey soon, so hopefully everyone in the room will take advantage and fill out that survey. We're also going to have a community cafe that everyone's invited to at the library, and we're going to solicit input from our community partners as well. This year, we're going to join CCS. What is that? Well, CCS is basically, now that we're in it, it's 29 libraries, including those libraries you see on your screen, a lot of neighboring libraries. And what we will do is we'll share an integrated library system. We'll share software, essentially. So what does that mean for you? It basically means it's a lot easier to get library materials that we don't have in our collection. So right now, if you look in our catalog and you can't find something, it's kind of a tricky process to get that material sent to you. We can do it, but it takes a little bit of time, probably takes several weeks. We may have to get it from out of state. It's not very efficient. But with this process, it's going to save taxpayer dollars because it's going to be cheaper for us. And when you go into the catalog and find something, if we don't have it, but say Lake Forest or Round Lake has it, you'll have it in a couple of days sent to the library. And if you happen to be at a business meeting in Evanston, well, they're part of CCS too. You can drop off your materials there if you happen to be by the library. So it's going to be really good for the community. And I think that's all I wanted to cover. So there's a lot to talk about, but hopefully that gives you an overview of some of our successes in 2022, some of the things we're looking forward to in 2023, and some of the challenges that lie ahead. So I appreciate your time, and I don't know if there's time for questions or not, but if not.
I think there is. Yeah, let me look to my right, and any comments or questions?
Okay,
Thumbs
thank
up
you.
from Karen, so yes. To my left, you guys have any questions or comments?
Well, I always have comments, but.
Yes, you do. That's why I asked you. I would just say, Ryan, it's been a pleasure to work with you. And for those that don't know, when you ask around in the library community and those that work with Ryan, they feel like they are really blessed and they want to do whatever they can to hang on to him. So if you have any idea that you might leave, you're going to have a lot of unhappy people. So I can just tell you that people are really pleased with working with you. I'm really pleased that you're part of our community, you and your family. So I saw Ryan at Cooper's Hawk happily enjoying a meal with his children. So I just really appreciate that. So thanks, Ryan, for coming out and sharing, and hopefully we can be part of your strategic plan process and have some input with that as well. So thanks.
I appreciate the time. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Village Board.
Thanks, Ryan. So, Pat, any old business? No new business?
Correct.
Public comment. So anybody that would like to talk, we'd appreciate if you would sign in and back, just provide us with your name so that for the minutes, so that we can get that accurate, have that accurate, and we'll go from there. So anybody that would like to speak?
My name is Cindy Higman, 6268 Durrell Drive. By the very fact that the board is considering amending the liquor license ordinance that's been in place for quite some time in order to accommodate a prospective Casey's, it appears that the village is more concerned with courting businesses than with the welfare of their residents. Casey's is a $1 billion out-of-state corporation that has no ties to Gurnee. Their only interest in our community is increasing their bottom line. The residents, however, which happen to be your constituents, are the heart and soul of our community. So as you deliberate this very, very important issue, I ask one thing of you, and that is, don't turn your back on us.
Thank you.
Suzanne Erdman, Hickory Haven. There's 4 reasons why I oppose Casey's or anything else that would add more traffic to that intersection. The number 1 reason would be the 2,000 children at Woodland School that pass through. They're all bused and dropped off by parents, so they're traveling there twice a day. There's even a policeman that has to be stationed there after school to accommodate the bus departures. So he stops traffic on Gages Lake Road from coming through. The second reason is there's thousands of residences along and near Hunt Club Road from 120 to Washington Street. So that's there's a lot of people through there. The next reason is the 43 residents, 25 to 30 employees, and daily visitors at the Bickford Assisted Living Facility. That also would include Sunrise, Gurnee Place, and Thomas Place, who are on Hunt Club Road that have a lot of visitors and people living there. And lastly, there's 3,000 families memberships at the St. Paul's Church on that same corner. So there's an awful lot of people using that intersection. Please keep our village a safe, desirable place to buy a home, raise a family, and enjoy life without the worry of dangerous intersections, increased traffic, crime, pollution, and noise. Safety and quality of life do matter very much to Gurnee residents. Residents should matter to our community leaders.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shelley Palmer. The Gurnee Village Board of Trustees is considering a vote on expanding the current liquor ordinances to allow alcohol sales at gas stations and convenience stores. If passed, the number of locations selling alcohol could increase by as much as 50%. This change, according to the January 30th trustee meeting, would be done to increase village revenues and to make it more convenient for residents to purchase alcohol. The CDC defines alcohol outlet density as the number of physical locations in which alcoholic beverages are available for purchase. According to the CDC, high alcohol outlet density is known to be an environmental risk factor for excessive drinking. The CDC also published the cost of excessive alcohol use in the U.S. in 2010 to be almost $250 billion. Illinois, the cost in 2010 was $9,715,700,000. What amount of tax dollars is Gurnee expecting to gain by adding additional licenses to gas stations and convenience stores? Is the tax revenue earned going to pay for the additional policing of the gas stations and convenience stores, the additional costs involved with the higher density of alcohol outlets, which can possibly lead to alcohol-related problems such as violence, crime, alcohol-involved traffic crashes, injuries, and possibly death? Are granting liquor license to gas stations and convenience stores worth the potential dollar and cent cost, as well as the emotional cost that even one impaired driver could bring? Just because the licenses can be granted, does that mean they should? Mayor Hood and the village trustees, please do the right thing. I'm asking that you continue to protect the residents of this community as you have done for so many years. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. My name is Susan Dilberg, 6320 Doral Drive. And I guess I can be note shamed because I'm going to use them. I'm going to use them in the way that some people snap a rubber band on their wrist or twist their ring. It's like an emotional control, because I too do not support a liquor license or change in the liquor license municipal codes to support a new business. At this moment, municipal code denies a liquor license to businesses who derive 50% or more of its revenue from gas, diesel, and motor fuel. Code further denies a liquor license to convenience stores. The current interested business, Casey's, claims that 64% of its sales are from fuel, and it is a multi-billion-dollar convenience store chain. There should be no question that they would be denied a liquor license. As members of the village board, you have the legal right to change the code. However, you have a responsibility to maintain Gurnee as a safe home for the residents. We, your constituents, do not wish to live in a community where our representatives would change codes to court business. Your legacy, our future, should not be one that favors revenue over residents or cash over constituents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Virginia Seago. I live at
Maybe
six.
get a little closer to the microphone. There you go.
My name
Thanks.
is Virginia Seago.
Thank you.
I live at 6331 Doral Drive. And regarding Casey's, have you driven down Hunt Club, 120, Gages Lake? Do you realize that if there was somebody robbing that gas station, they'd be able to get out of town like that? I know for a fact that I have seen it on other departments. I would like to know also how many police officers are on duty at 11 to 7 in the morning, and if the police department is open. I know Naperville closes theirs. I lived there. I got into an argument with them about it. I told them, I said, so I'm a woman driving home at night, and some car pulls up to me. I pull into the police station. I can't get anyone. No one will come in and help me. Why? Because it's closed. I want to know what our police department does and if they're open. I have seen when we've had our meetings, the board meetings there, I have seen where the lights are off. Well, why are the lights off? They must be closed. Well, I just feel that you better take a look. Also, by not having the liquor, we're grandfathered in. You cannot have it. If I'm grandfathered in, and I know I've been involved with that too, I'm a lot older than all of yous, and I've been around the block too many times. I just want you to look at it and decide. Kids can get killed. There's the nursing home. People with dementia, they sneak out and they say, oh, no, no, no. They do. And if somebody turns the corner, they can get killed. And it'll be on your hands. So I thank you for listening to me.
Oh, ma'am, before you go, I just want to assure you that our police department is 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. They never close. There's a full complement of officers on duty all the time.
How many are on duty at night, though?
I don't know the exact number, and I don't think our chief of police is here tonight.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
I don't know the exact number, but it's a full complement that's based or serves in each district. So I just wanted, normally we don't have that back and forth, but just wanted you to go home tonight knowing that if you were to call the police department, they would be present at your home in moments.
you better believe I'm getting a gun.
All right. Thanks, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, village trustees, my name is Art Stevens. I'm at 5740 Regency Court in Gurnee. Some of you have seen me before because I have spoken before. I am going to make some comments tonight that are related to Casey's, but not directly about Casey's. As many of you know, several of us have taken an unhealthy interest in the activity of the zoning board and in the village trustees since last October. I, in fact, have almost not missed a meeting, and we have several other people who have not missed either zoning board or village trustee meetings. I've also taken the opportunity, as has several of my other colleagues in the Heather Ridge area, to have off the spot discussions with both village employees and a few of you, and we've had several opportunities to have meetings. I wanted to share an observation, one that has begun to form in my mind, and it is actually, I believe, relevant to the conversations that you're having now regarding Casey's, and the conversations, frankly, that you're going to have in the future as you work towards doing more infilling and bringing more opportunities to the village of Gurnee. Because and I have shared this with the mayor at several meetings, I believe that you are going to have more of these kinds of discussions rather than fewer, because we're talking about infilling in a village that is pretty well full of things, and we're running out of space. At the same time, you are rightly concerned about how are we going to continue to have the revenues that we need in order to run the village, since we don't want to go into a sales tax or property tax, and we want to run it on sales tax. So you have to figure out how to attract businesses. Here's the point that I want to make, now that I made that big introduction. In my observation, you have the equation backwards. One of the things that I hear when I talk to everybody, whether it's elected officials or the village employees, is we have to figure out a way to make Gurnee an attractive place to do business. That's backwards. Gurnee is an attractive place to do business. If it was an attractive place to do business, we wouldn't have what we have now. In the issue of Casey's, you have an $8.33 billion corporation. It has 2,400 locations in 16 states in the United States. And in fact, it is not a gas station, even though we keep on calling it that. It is a convenience store. It makes all of its money on convenience items, on prepackaged foods, on sweet and sour snacks, on sweet and sour beverages, and it wants to make money on liquor and beer sales because that's where the profit margins are. The profit margins on gasoline are 3 to 10 cents per gallon. It can sell as many gallons as it wants to. The profit margin on gasoline is way at the end. It's a distant fourth, as Ellen talked about it last week when she made her presentation at the Committee of the Whole. She had it rated fourth. It is fourth, but it's a distant fourth. There's a chasm between the profitability of those things. So let's make no mistake. What we're talking about is a convenience store that sells pizza and a whole bunch of other stuff and just happens to have gas. So it's not really needed for gas. People aren't driving around Gurnee running out of gas. When we try to make the village so attractive to businesses, we tend to lose fact that we have to make it a place where it's attractive for people to live. And you have the power, and we as citizens have the power because we elect you to say these are the rules under which you can come and do business here in our community. But we don't do that very well. First of all, our processes for getting citizens involved are backwards because we don't hear about them until the very end. We heard about the Trans-Chicago Truck Company coming in October with a December date for a decision. Now, I've had it explained to me, I get it. You have to make sure that the petitioner is qualified before they can actually be made public. But there's got to be a better way to get citizens involved in this earlier on so you don't have to have all these fights all the time. The other thing is, we need to stop thinking like we have to qualify for these companies to come and do business here. They have to qualify to come and do business with us. We are a great market, and they have to prove that they're worthy of it. That means when we have rules for the way we want them to be, we need to enforce them. We need to stop giving in to all of the requests for exceptions, and we need to stop telling them you can look like anything you want to look like, and we need to stop telling them, yeah, you can build right up to the lines, and we need to start dictating to them what we, as Gurnee citizens and Gurnee trustees, want them to look like. If they don't like that, then guess what? all of their manifestations where they say, we're part of you and we want to be good neighbors and we want to be part of your village, is not a truth, because they aren't willing to do the things that are required in order to do that. So now, again, the point that I wanted to make is we have the equation backwards. They have to qualify, they have to live by our rules. We have to be sure that we make that happen, because that's going to make Gurnee continue to be a great place to live, not a place where anybody who wants to come in to make money can come in and take money out of the village. Thank you.
Hey, Art, normally you don't have a back and forth, but why don't you want to step up just for a second?
Yeah, are you going to throw me out of the village?
No. I'll start with, I appreciate your involvement and your involvement since October in the process, and I appreciate new eyes on that. That's a good thing. One thing that I don't particularly appreciate is, I can tell you when I look right here, David Ziegler and his department, the effort they put into enforcing our ordinances to the T. When I hear you make statements like, we let anything happen in the village, it's an overstatement. We work hard to make sure that the businesses that come in, we respect people's property rights as well as the neighbors that are next to them. So I'd only say this because I really want to defend our staff, because I work with them day in and day out, and they just do a great job. And they work hard with developers and people that come in that do want to sometimes stretch our ordinances, and we don't let them. In fact, we require them at many times to beef up beyond what our ordinances say. And we do our best to be able to fit them in the village so that we have that tension between having businesses and having residents happy with the businesses that are in town. And sometimes it's hard. And Casey's is one of those examples where it's tough. And the part that I appreciate is that you bring new eyes to that, and I appreciate the input. But when you stand up and make a public statement that I don't agree with, then I'm going to have to say, you know what, it's not that extreme. We can always improve. I'm with you on that. But I think we do a great job with the people that we have in staff. And I think with your interactions with staff, you'd probably agree. So, okay? I don't know what you say to that, so I just said I kind of got my piece back. But I appreciate what you're saying, but there needs to be the other side of the story. So thanks. And I really don't want the back and forth, but if you have a comment back, that's fine.
Real simple. Yes, I do sometimes have the ability to overstate a case. And if I did that, and if that implicated anybody in any implication that they might have been doing it incorrectly, that was not my intention. I do want, however, to point out that most of the time when the zoning board is asked for an exception to the rule, and they were asked for an exception to the rule with Casey's, they granted it. And I've seen a lot of exceptions granted when, in fact, if the rules were set up the first way, if the rules were set up in a way the first time, why are we making exceptions?
All right, thanks, Art. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Adrienne Doherty. I live in Heather Ridge, and I appreciate the board accommodating public comment this evening. And I would like to address the board's considering or voting on expanding the liquor ordinances to allow gas stations and convenience stores to sell alcohol. At your meeting last week, Keith Owens delivered a well-researched presentation on the health and safety impacts of alcohol sales from convenience store gas stations, calling your attention to strong scientific evidence that increased alcohol outlet density increases rates of alcohol consumption, violent crime, and underage drinking. The fact-based data must be the first consideration in any city planning. Responsible city planners know this. It's hard to imagine a city that would waive such health and safety priorities. Although we know they do exist, They are chillingly referred to as economic sacrifice zones. They look like Cicero, Blue Island, Gary, Indiana, and Waukegan. They devolved one bad decision at a time. If the objective here is to distress the asset and sell the city off for parts to commercial interests for fast tax revenues, then that is something you should make clear to those who must live here and pay taxes here. They will be the ones made to endure the deterioration of their health, safety, and quality of life. The rising incidence of serious traffic accidents in Gurnee makes it clear that Gurnee needs to review and troubleshoot what is not working. The last thing Gurnee needs is to compound an already concerning situation with the inclusion of fast-serve roadside alcohol. Add this to Gurnee's Six Flag attraction and Gurnee Mills, which have become destination party hangouts, drawing troublesome delinquent elements to the area, inciting incidents of shooting and theft. Knowingly courting a culture of quick-serve roadside alcohol is simply adding fuel to the fire. Perhaps a time for reflection and to step back and review the bigger picture would be a more responsible path forward. I thank you.
Just when you thought it was safe, Tom. Good evening, my name is Keith Owens, 6464 Doral Drive. I've spoken in front of this group several times. And good news is I'm going to be on vacation for your next 3 meetings, so you can put away your earplugs. I'm not going to talk about Casey's tonight, at least not directly. I'm going to talk about roller coasters and republics, okay? So anybody who lives in Gurnee and they've got somebody coming up for visiting a family or business, tell them if they're coming from the south, you know, when you see the roller coaster at Gurnee Mills, at Great America, get to the right because you want to get off on Grand Avenue. And if they're coming from Wisconsin, you tell them, well, as soon as you see that Gurnee Mills sign, get to the right because you want to get off on Grand Avenue. Gurnee's growth over the last 30 or 40 years has been driven by the 3 Gs. Great America, Gurnee Mills, and now Great Wolf Lodge. And the city has built their economic and tax structure on that. And it was a very good policy and a good plan. But all policies and plans need to be reviewed, okay? I've had a conversation with the mayor and he's explained to me the reason that our economy is kind of a little bit like a roller coaster, it goes up and down, is because there's things that impact sales or things that impact, people coming to visit or people going to Great America. So that even pre-COVID, you were seeing a decline in some of the sales revenue from Gurnee Mills. Now, the government in its wisdom has helped the village by passing a law that allows the villages and other cities to collect sales tax on internet sales, so that's kind of smoothed that part of the roller coaster ride out. But then came COVID, and there was even more disruption. But fortunately, the government was able to send the village and other villages and towns money, so that kind of smoothed that out. But Gurnee, the way it's structured right now, is never going to be the carousel that most villages are, because they are kind of moving along at a steady pace and a predictable pace, a little up and down, if you get on the horse that goes up and down, because they rely on property tax and utility taxes and other taxes that we don't have. And I speak for everybody here when I say it's great that we don't have those. But it may be, that time may be coming, soon before we know it. I suspect that was probably part of the reason when you were doing your economic development planning, starting with the 2040 survey about what's next, what's coming, all right? Which brings me to this discussion about the push for gas stations and convenience stores to have alcohol. And I know that, you know, tax revenue is dear, but I also know that, at least based on the presentation that was presented by your auditors at the last meeting, the village is in fairly good shape. But your job is not to make sure that the status quo is maintained today. Your job is to look out into the future and figure out, what does this village need 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, all right? So in my roller coaster analogy, you guys are all in the first car. You see what's coming, and you know there may be a drop, and you have to try to get out ahead of that if you possibly can. Gurnee advertises itself as a village of opportunity, and I think for most of us, we've enjoyed the opportunities that we've had here, both to raise families and to do business, okay? But I'm not sure that it's a village that needs more gas stations, because I haven't seen anybody off the side of the road because they've run out of gas. I know we've only had one new gas station in the village in the last 25 years, but if you extend the village boundary by about 100 yards, you'll probably find we've had 10 or 15 new gas stations. So I think anybody in this village could drive a mile and a half, and find a gas station. So I don't think we're a gas desert the way some communities are food deserts. So why are we asking the village to consider changing the ordinance? No, I don't know of any, and I doubt that any of these conversations actually happen. But I wouldn't be surprised to find out if somebody from Casey's asked somebody who knew what goes on in Gurnee, what's the chance that we can sell liquor in our new store? And up until a while ago, the chance that they would have said the chance is 0. But now there is a chance, and that's why I'm here today, and that's why a lot of these people are here today. All right? If the only way a business would be willing to come into Gurnee is if they want to sell alcohol, that's a business decision on their part, whether they come or not, depending on whether they can sell alcohol. But if they're able to do that means that 7 or 8 other gas stations and then maybe or convenience stores can sell it, then we're getting back to this situation of alcohol density that I talked about at our last meeting. I ask you to look at this not as an economic issue, but as a public policy issue, all right? This is more than dollars and cents. It doesn't make sense to solve a long-term problem, if there is a problem in terms of where the village's finances are going to be 5, 10, or 15 years down the road, by creating a short-term problem by allowing alcohol density to increase at this level. So I'm asking you not to make a decision based on economics, although that's part of your responsibility. I'm asking you to make a personal decision. And I wish everybody was here tonight, so I'm going to address Trustee Woodside, excuse me, in absentia, hoping that he looks at this. I would ask Trustee Woodside, who was the former chief of police in the village, if he remembers the first time he rolled up on an accident involving alcohol that resulted in a fatality. It's probably a pretty painful memory, but it's one he shouldn't lose sight of if he's thinking about increasing alcohol density. He's also very much involved in the PADS program, which helps people throughout the area who are homeless and need to get a hand up. We talked about 211 just earlier. I wonder how many stories he's heard from people directly or through his people that he volunteers with that starts out with, well, it all started when so-and-so started drinking too much. Trustee Balmas, you've been around this village even longer than I have, and that's a long time. And you're committed to making it a great place to live and having good businesses here. And I encourage you to consider your view of what the village has been and can be when you're making a decision about opening up the village for gas stations and convenience stores selling packaged liquor. Last time we had a presentation about that person driving home, oh my gosh, I forgot to buy the bottle of wine. So I'm going to stop in at a convenience store or a gas station and then also buy gas here, which is going to give the village a few pennies. And I'm going to get a bottle of Yellowtail or Barefoot wine. That didn't ring with me. If you're going to have a glass of wine with dinner during the week, you're probably buying it at Binny's. I hope you are, because it's a lot less expensive and there's a lot better selection. They use that example as a good example of impulse buying that's going to benefit the village. But that's not the impulse that I'm concerned about. The impulse I'm concerned about is the younger person, and they may be 21 years old, okay, so they can legally buy alcohol, but they're still living in that world of no consequences. So they buy a six-pack or whatever, and that impulse purchase results in an accident, okay? I'm sure we've all been to funerals, and it's a very sad thing. But when somebody is taken because of an alcoholic-related accident, a lot of times it's not the person who bought the alcohol, all right? And I've heard the argument that some people say, well, if they don't buy it there, they're just going to go down and buy it at Jewel, okay? So why not open it up? I've always found it a very unfulfilling argument to argue, well, if somebody else is doing it and it's bad, what could hurt making it worse, okay? Making something worse is not a solution for a bad problem, okay? Trustee Garner, you've told us very emotionally a story about your situation being on both sides of the opioid situation. So you understand addiction. You have some personal knowledge of how people need to help, and sometimes they get to that point with an earlier step. Maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's some other kind of drug. Think about that when you're thinking about whether you want to put basically 5 or 6 or 10 or 15, however many liquor stores out in our community. Okay? Trustee Ross, your story, your life is the arc of this village. You go back even before you knew that you wanted to serve, understanding what service was. Your father was the mayor. He brought this from a cow town, if you would, into modern times. And then you worked in the village as probably interning and then doing summers and things like that before you got involved as a teacher, and you stayed involved, and you're involved today. So you have a unique perspective on where we've been, where we are, and I hope that informs your decision about where we should be going. Trustee Thorntonson.
You can't pronounce it either.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, neither can I, so that's all right.
Getting a stern look there. And I don't blame you, because you're a business continuity consultant, and you're in charge of the economic development and planning for the village.
I'm not.
Pardon?
I'm not.
You're not anymore? Oh, I've read your bio.
The latter point, I was never in charge of economic.
Well, you're
on the committee.
You're not the chair of the committee?
We don't really have a committee anymore.
Oh, okay, I'm
Was
sorry.
at one point.
Okay, then whoever does your website maybe needs to update that, because I'm just going based on the information you put out there. But anyway, you understand planning and business development. I think, and if you're still doing business continuity work, it's like, we're here, but what happens if something happens and we can't make it to there, okay? So you may be the first person in the front car of that roller coaster who sees, hey, this is what's coming and this is what we might need to do. So I ask you not only to put your professional hat on when you look at this, but also your personal hat. 243 parishioners of St. Paul's signed a petition yesterday asking the village not to allow Casey's to be built next door to them, with particular language in that about also not allowing alcohol to be sold. Father Joe and Father Chris spoke from the pulpit about it, and their names are on those petitions. We could have 1,000, 5,000 signatures on petitions. That's not how this decision's going to be made. At the beginning of every meeting, the mayor asks us to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And in there it says, "And to the Republic." This is not a democracy. We're a republic at the national, state, and local levels. We vote for our representatives, and then we hope those representatives make the right decisions. I lived in a small town in New Hampshire for a while, and I had the unique experience of going to the annual town meeting where we all voted as a democracy on how much they were going to spend to salt the roads. But you, whether you're in a contested election or not, once you're elected, it's up to you as individuals to make those tough personal decisions with the best information you have, but also drawing on who you are as a person. So the only thing I ask of you tonight is when you go from here tonight, and however long it takes for this issue to come up before you, you consider that as both a personal decision and as a professional decision as leaders of this village. I want to thank you very much for your service. I want to thank you for your patience. I want to thank you for your attention. And I want to thank you for putting your best judgment on this issue to come to bear. Thank you very much.
All right, at this time, oh, yeah, sure.
I'm Carol Marker, and I live on 920 Vose Drive in Heather Ridge. I want to thank all of you for listening. Trustee Balmas, I certainly appreciated your comment at the meeting of the whole on both the concept of opening liquor licenses for Casey's without allowing them everywhere else as a liability issue here for the village, and you're right. I don't know how you say yes to Casey's and no to all the other gas stations, and I think we all know that. I'm gonna make this brief. You all wanna go home, I'm sure. I would like to ask each of you a favor. Today, what we did was went to the west end on 60 of Hawthorne and drove up to their Casey's. Let's see what this really looks like. I'm asking each of you to do the same thing, because without even going into the store, we pull in the parking place, mountains of Budweiser in the window, mountains of Miller Lights. Outside, all the cheap cigarettes you can buy. I'm only gonna add one more thing. Hundreds of preteens, teens, live immediately adjacent between those neighborhoods, not just on the school bus, but in the summer riding their bike, taking a walk. And they'll go up there and probably buy all the stuff their parents don't want them to eat with their allowance, but that's what they're gonna see. Please look at that storefront window at the Casey's, right there in Vernon Hills. Take 10 minutes, and I know you have a lot to do, all of you, but I'm asking you, just a picture is worth 1,000 words. Look at the stacks of beer, look at the cigarette advertisements taking up about half of their storefront window. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, there being no further public comments, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Garner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.